Hello, welcome to my first video blog. I figured I'd start doing some of these things, maybe share some more centralized viewpoints, considering how far our political spectrum is right now. You get the people on the far left, people on the far right, and it just seems like every day they keep getting farther and farther apart. First thing I guess I'd like to say is that me personally, I would say I'm more of a conservative individual. Not that I can't see the merit in certain liberal viewpoints. I feel there's lessons to be learned from both sides, and I just wish more people would, start to see that. But unfortunately, they're too embroiled in their own opinions. They're too embroiled in their own viewpoints, and they're also seems to be too busy shouting and getting in the faces of their opposition to tell them how wrong they are. And personally, I don't think that's the way things need to go. I mean, granted, our president is a real piece of work and probably shouldn't be on social media as much as he is. He definitely needs to tone down his rhetoric, stop antagonizing the Democrats, stop antagonizing other world leaders. I mean, quite honestly, if he doesn't stop, being an idiot, I really think this country is gonna end up in another recession. With his trade war talks, tariffs, all this other stuff that he constantly keeps going on and on about. I can kind of see the writing on the wall. Our trade is going to go to crap, and we're going to end up in another recession. The other thing that needs to happen is the opposition, the liberals, they need to stop antagonizing the conservatives as well. I mean, last week there was that whole flap with California Representative Maxine Waters, being on video saying that any White House cabinet members, any White House staffers that were out getting gas at a restaurant, she told her supporters, get in their faces, get a group around them, confront them on how wrong this administration is. And while she's right about the administration being wrong, her tactics are completely out there. I mean, there's absolutely no need to be confrontational, getting aggressive, and that just seems to be the way a lot of liberals are. You almost can't be a conservative of any kind without some liberal, without some liberal individual coming up and getting in your face about it. I mean, I've seen some videos out there where just as a little social experiment, somebody would walk out with, a Make America Great Again shirt or a Make America Great Again hat, and they'd be accosted on the street. Somebody'd come up and spit on them. Somebody'd come up and just intentionally rough them up with a shoulder, bump into them, whatever, intentionally bump into them with a shoulder. It just seems like there's too much confrontation. Nobody can come together and hear each other out. And I think a lot of that has to do with the extreme viewpoints that each side has. And unfortunately, that seems to be the way things are going, that we just can't get away from these extreme viewpoints. As far as, let's say immigration, for example, that's caused quite a flap here in the last month. I certainly don't believe, excuse me, I certainly don't believe that we need a border wall. The individuals that want to come to this country illegally have found plenty of ways to do so. even in certain areas where there's already certain security measures, walls, chain link fence, that kind of thing. They've found ways to circumvent that. So honestly, a border wall, while a huge waste of money, is not going to solve the problem. The other thing is that I don't believe we need to have an open door policy. The open door policy that we already have is a drain on welfare programs, social programs that should be meant more for actual U.S. citizens. We've already got a large number of homeless individuals who need help, and they can't get it because these social programs are being drained by other things. A lot of immigrant policies that drain these welfare programs, social programs that could be used for other things. The other point, I guess, is also, which is also a hot topic, is the separating of families at the border. Now, this isn't something new. I mean, of course, under Trump, the current administration here has escalated the situation, but separating families at the border is nothing new. It's been going on for several decades. I've heard it's gone back as far as the Bill Clinton administration, perhaps even the senior George Bush administration. So this, separating families is nothing new. It's just that the current administration's new or recently implemented zero tolerance policy is causing quite the uproar. Maybe some of you know this, but there was something floating around social media sites and whatnot that during the Obama administration, during the time frame between, I think it was 2013 and 2016, 90,000 immigrant children were placed in sponsor homes, placed in refugee shelters, detention centers, whatever. Unfortunately, there was a lot of details missing from that, I guess that whatever blurb that was going around. First of all, a lot of these children were on their own, or well, maybe not necessarily on their own. They were part of another group of immigrant children coming to the U.S. Their families had sent their children here to either live with a relative, or perhaps the parents were already in the U.S. and the children were following behind to meet up with their family. At any rate, a lot of these kids were already on their own and were simply trying to, their parents were simply trying to get them into the U.S. by any means necessary. So when these kids were stopped at the border, there was already no parent around, and a lot of them were, like I said, some of them were sent to sponsor homes, a lot of them were sent to immigration facilities, a lot of them were sent to live with relatives that were already here. And of course, some of the children were with their families, were with their parents, and they were separated from those parents when, said parents were deemed to be a danger of some kind, whether they had a criminal background, whether they've already been deported multiple times, whatever the case might be. So this whole thing, while it has, like I said, it has intensified under the current administration, it's nothing new. And unfortunately, people can't seem to see that, especially the Democrats. They're raising a huge fuss over something that's been going on for 30 years. And nobody's done anything about it to stop it, end it, or curtail it. And when talking with other individuals about this whole thing, I know a lot of them seem to think that there's definitely a better solution than border walls or zero tolerance policies or catch and release programs. Um, Unfortunately, I don't think anybody has a real answer. A lot of opinions, of course. Um, Former coworker of mine, he was a Mexican immigrant, came to the United States when he was, I don't know, 18, 19 years old, I think he said. Lived in the U.S. for 20 years, became a U.S. citizen. Has a family here. He's a wife, 3 or 4 kids now, I believe. And I haven't talked to him in a couple of years because we no longer work together. But I know when the 2016 elections were coming around, he supported Trump. He felt like the immigration policy that's going on could be better. He doesn't believe that people should just, or illegal immigrants should just be flooding into the country. Although I guess technically they're not flooding in, but there's still plenty of them coming in here that probably shouldn't be. But yeah, seeing as he's a Mexican immigrant himself who went through the process to become a U.S. citizen, I kind of wish I would have talked with him at length more about it, get his viewpoints more. But like I say, from the little bit that he did share with me, he feels like the current immigration policy needs an overhaul, and that we shouldn't be allowing as many illegal immigrants in as we are. The same kind of thing goes for another friend of mine. His mom was a Mexican immigrant. He was born here in the U.S. She came here illegally, became a U.S. citizen, got married, had kids. He was one of them, and he kind of believes the same thing, that the current immigration policy is flawed, and we should not be allowing as many illegal immigrants in as we are. But then again, as I said earlier, I don't think anybody has a real good idea on how to fix the situation. I do feel that there's a better solution out there. This current zero tolerance policy definitely is not working. A border wall is not going to work. And I think the open door policy that the opposition to this current presidential administration wants just isn't the answer either. I guess in closing, just wrapping up my viewpoint for today, I guess, is that we need to be a better society. We need to be more open to one another. Listen to each other's opinions. Stop screaming and shouting, getting in each other's faces, and being belligerent, aggressive, morons. Unfortunately, that's the way too many people are. And like I said, I really wish people would stop doing that. So I guess that's it for now. Maybe I'll do another one next week or sometime middle of the week. We'll find out what my schedule brings. I know the 4th of July is coming up here in a couple of days, few days, I guess. So enjoy your 4th. Be careful, don't blow any fingers off with the fireworks, and I'll possibly see you next time.